The sun had barely risen over Washington, D.C. on September 4th. The Capitol, as it does every morning, carried on with its own rhythm, politicians shuffling into buildings, commuters rushing past with their heads down. But on this day, something unimaginable was happening. Charlie Kirk, the controversial conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, was dead, shot in broad daylight, right in the heart of the political epicenter. It wasn't just another act of violence, it was an assassination. But how? Who would want to silence someone like Charlie Kirk? What could possibly drive a person to make the decision to pull a trigger and end his life? This isn't just the story of one man's tragic death. It's the story of a nation's fractured politics, the chaos of ideological warfare, and a dark conspiracy that had been quietly brewing in the shadows. In the days that followed, the country was left with a haunting question: who killed Charlie Kirk, and why? To understand why this happened, we need to start at the beginning. Charlie Kirk wasn't always the firebrand media personality we know today. Born in 1993, Charlie was a political prodigy of sorts. At 18, he founded Turning Point USA, a movement designed to bring conservative values to college campuses across America.
So, when exactly do heart waves begin in utero?
You know that, but you don't know the four.
Hold on, no, so tell me when heartbeat.
I don't know.
Okay, you don't know.
No.
So wait, hold on. So you're trying to say I know more about the woman reproductive system than you do?
I am a woman, so yes.
Yeah.
The idea was simple: counter the left-wing bias they believed dominated academia. The early days were filled with relentless hustle speeches, rallies, and the kind of passion that ignites social media. Charlie wasn't just a figurehead, he became a symbol of the political right, an outspoken advocate for young conservatives, drawing both praise and venom in equal measure. But with every speech, every tweet, every viral video, Charlie's influence only grew. And with that influence came enemies. He was a lightning rod, someone who reveled in the chaos of political debate. His words were sharp, his positions often uncompromising. He was the kind of person who could divide a room with a single sentence. Whether you agreed with him or not, there was no denying his power. The morning of September 14, 2025. Charlie Kirk was due to speak at a rally on the National Mall, an event that was supposed to rally his base, conservative students, activists, and his followers. It should have been a day like any other, but something went wrong. It was 9:17 a.m. when the first shot rang out. A single bullet, fired from a distance of 430 feet, an almost impossible shot in broad daylight, one that instantly ended his life. The scene was chaotic, the crowd scattered, people screamed, some ran for cover while others frantically dialed 911. Within minutes, law enforcement swarmed the area. FBI agents, Secret Service, and local police flooded the mall in what would become a massive investigation into the assassination of a high-profile political figure. There were no signs of a struggle, no clear motive at first. But the question everyone was asking was simple: why Charlie Kirk? And who would be capable of pulling the trigger? As the days passed, the investigation into the assassination of Charlie Kirk began to unfold. What seemed like a random act of violence soon revealed itself to be something much darker. The FBI immediately pointed to several possible leads, each more chilling than the last. Was it an act of political terrorism, a targeted hit by someone on the far left who saw Kirk as a dangerous extremist? Or was it something more personal, an assassination orchestrated by someone with a closer, more intimate connection to the man? The answers came slowly, as the FBI worked through hours of footage from the National Mall. It was there, in a small clip captured by a bystander, that the breakthrough came. A person dressed in black, running away from the scene. The footage was grainy, blurry, but there was one thing that was clear: the person didn't just flee, they were purposefully headed toward the Capitol building. Within hours, law enforcement traced the figure's steps. They were able to identify a connection, an individual named Thomas Bennett. A name that on the surface meant little. But when law enforcement dug deeper, they found something chilling. Bennett had been a former volunteer for Turning Point USA, a fact that immediately made this case even more complex. Was the shooter a disillusioned former ally, or was there something more to this story, something the public had yet to understand? The hunt for Thomas Bennett became a media spectacle in its own right. The nation watched as every lead was chased, as every witness was interviewed. But no one could predict the stunning revelation that would shake the investigation to its core. The nation watched as every lead was chased, as every witness was interviewed, but no one could predict the stunning revelation that would shake the investigation to its core. Bennett wasn't just a former volunteer. He had been personally close to Charlie Kirk. They had exchanged emails, discussed politics, and had even met for private talks. Those who knew them both described Bennett as passionate but unstable, someone whose views had become more extreme over time. Could it be that Charlie Kirk's own ideological rhetoric had led to this tragic conclusion? The investigation grew even more twisted when it was revealed that Bennett had been planning this assassination for months. Hidden away in a small, nondescript apartment in Alexandria, Virginia, law enforcement found a journal, a detailed account of Bennett's radicalization, his obsession with Charlie Kirk, and his ultimate plan to silence the man he once admired. At the time Thomas Bennett was captured, the nation was in shock. This wasn't just another act of senseless violence. This was a deliberate, calculated act of assassination, driven by the very rhetoric that had defined Charlie Kirk's life. The motive? It wasn't entirely clear. Some believe Bennett's actions were driven by an ideological clash, a belief that Kirk's extreme conservatism was a threat to the future of the country. Others, however, believe that it was personal, an individual lost in the chaos of modern politics, unable to separate his admiration for a figure from the destruction that figure's ideas caused in his own life. The tragedy of Charlie Kirk's death sparked a nationwide debate. What does it say about a country where political figures can be assassinated in the streets, where voices so powerful can also inspire the darkest forms of violence? As we look back on the events of September 14, 2025, one question looms large. How did we get here?